Hey, welcome in. You're listening to a daily editorial on the Korelin Economics Report, originating from the Cambridge House World Investment Conference up here in Vancouver, British Columbia. I'm chatting right now with Leonard Melman. Known Leonard for probably, what's it been, 5, 6, 7 years?
At least that long.
Got a copy of your book sitting in my office, actually, your original book, which I thought was very, very good, very interesting. Leonard and I are going to maybe go off subject a little bit. You know, everybody at these conferences is really, really interested in, you know, what's gold going to do, what's silver going to do, et cetera. Is XYZ Gold a good company or a bad company to invest in? But Leonard and I have been around for a couple of years, and we have the luxury to be able to talk about perhaps issues of a more macro nature, issues that might be perhaps, in our view anyway, a little more important. And something that I am really, really keen on right now is, you know, you come to these conferences, you read a lot of material that letter writers put out, you listen to radio shows, TV shows, etc., and you hear a lot of complaining. You hear a lot of how bad things are. You hear a lot of, we're walking under a black cloud and it's raining and we can't do anything to change that. We can do something to change it.
Absolutely, we sure can. What I believe our purpose in the work we do is to point out to people that there are alternatives to the way society is being run, that we don't have to go down this monolithic government path, that there are ways of having less government and still an excellent society, and of living with a degree of economic sanity that we don't see right now with the Fed, with the Bank of England, with the Bank of Europe, that only know expansion and dilution of currency values. So what I try to do in my presentations and when I talk with people is give them a little bit of the history when we lived in a much saner, rational world, when we had a currency that retained value, when we had limited government and society still functioned excellently, to give them a way of answering some of the more radical political demagogues who we see in so many different directions.
You know, I have to tell you, in my opinion, to a very large extent, part of the problem lies with the majority. I mean, you know, people can talk about things like rigged elections and they can talk about things like unfair elections, et cetera, but I got to tell you, I would maintain too many people don't take action. I mean, do they communicate with their elected officials? Are they vocal in their opinions? Do they really, really try to make a difference at the voting booth? I really got to wonder about that.
Well, actually, they don't. They pay attention maybe a little bit during an election, or they vote in accordance with preset feelings, but I don't get the feeling that either they really examine the issues, or even worse, that they don't have the knowledge to examine the issues. So they just listen to what they've been told. And there's a wonderful line I can quote. It comes from Roman history. It involves a senator by the name of Publius Claudius. And he was a famous orator, and somebody once asked him, "What's the success of your oratory?" He said, "It's very simple. I tell people what they want to hear. I never tell them what they don't want to hear, so I remain popular." That, I think, is the style of politicians today, but the public just doesn't have enough knowledge to see through them.
Here's the interesting question. You know, your readers, our listeners, etc., are all pretty well-educated people. They're people who are involved on a daily basis in terms of what's going on politically, what's not going on politically. We, unfortunately, are the minority. We're not that 52%. Do you see the pendulum swinging back to maybe where sanity is going to prevail?
Yes, I do. And I think the great instrument that's helping us is internet. The fact that there are so many websites like the von Mises Institute, the Ayn Rand Institute, Cato Institute, that are thousands of people subscribe to now, where they get some real trustworthy economic information, and it is spreading very rapidly. Just look at Ron Paul and the Republican campaign, a true libertarian, and he got millions upon millions of votes to support him. So I think things are beginning to change. Slow, it's difficult, but yes, I think we're starting to move in the right direction.
And what I would suggest, ladies and gentlemen, is this. Let's speed up that change. Do what you can. I'm not talking about taking to the streets or doing anything stupid. What I'm talking about is in a very well thought out, intellectually sensible way. Try to make a difference. Try to make a difference like Jeff and I do on this show. Try to make a difference like people like Leonard Melman do in their newsletters, etc. You know what? It's time to get the pendulum swinging the other way. Make a difference. Leonard, you got the final word, bud.
Okay. There's one other idea I would suggest to parents of children in making a difference. Go to your child's teacher. Ask them, have you ever talked to my son or daughter about the history of gold as currency? Have you ever talked to them about presidents like Grover Cleveland who spoke out against dependence on government? Have you ever told them that throughout American history there is a tradition of individual reliance? And have you ever pointed out to them that at the height of socialism, with examples such as communist China and the Soviet Union, there they had to hire guards with rifles pointed inward to keep people from escaping, whereas countries like the USA and Switzerland have had to erect enormous barriers to keep people out because they wanted so desperately to move toward freedom and liberty. Ask your teachers, because I think the teachers of America and Canada carry much of the fault. They are loading our students with propaganda from the left. We need to exert an opposite force.
All I can say, Leonard, is amen. Hey, if you want more information on what Leonard does, go to our favorites sites section and click on the Melman Report. Going to be back with another editorial later.